A very bright morning to everyone who's joining us. Today is the first episode of Mom's Morning Show with practical tips to share. Today we have Michelle, a very happy stay-at-home mother, and me, a very happy mompreneur. So both two very different ones. And it's going to be exciting because we've got so much to cover in just this hour. So whether you're on your way to work, at home, or having your breakfast, we promise you're going to enjoy this. So, Michelle, just to get started, right, I want to ask you, good morning, and thank you for being our first guest. Is there anything you want to say? Because this is the first time we are covering Chinese New Year in the middle of a global pandemic. Over to you, Michelle. Yeah.
Don't get fined.
That will
destroy anybody's Chinese New Year. Don't get fined. Don't do stuff that could lead you to getting fined, imprisoned. Orange is not a good look on anyone.
Okay. And actually, just for our viewers, will you be able to list what the regulations are?
Oh, I think at the moment you can make 2 visits per day. And you are allowed to receive 9 guests. So I've heard people saying,
I thought it was 8. 8
was
or
it
9?
8? Okay, 8. See, I'm being more flexible.
Okay.
Let's just follow the regulations. It's probably 8.
Okay.
So I hear people say, I live on a high floor. No one will know. Yeah, people will know. Because I've seen enforcement officers lingering at void decks and lobbies of various floors, and they're watching other buildings across. So don't do it.
Okay, for each of you who have joined us, if you are enjoying our first episode of Mom's Morning Show, send your thumbs up, type in any questions. So the title for today is really practical tips for Chinese New Year with the kids, the entire family in the midst of COVID, and how we can enjoy the entire celebration. And for me, right, I want to share why I'm excited, Michelle, because I shared I'm excited, right? Because most people are like, it's because in my 40 over years, we've never celebrated Chinese New Year this way. So for us, right, we go to 9 houses on the first day,
Wow.
Yeah, lugging the kids, my mom, my brother. So it's the whole entourage, it's not just my own family. So
That's
but
a big
this
production.
year, it is. So you can imagine the convoy, right? But this year, it would really be the most relaxing New Year because my brother is in Dubai. So it's me, my mom, and my youngest brother in Singapore.
Okay.
But just my family is 7 of us. So we won't be able to go together. So we decided that we are going to stagger because my mom, I'm not very law-abiding. I would go the loopholes if I can. But my mom was like, Yen, if you're visiting me, I'm serious, you have to come at a different time from your brother, So, and I love and respect my mom for that, for being that stand, because that's who she is. So I intend to just honor the regulations. Yeah. So
you and your brother be meeting up separately?
Yes, we will be. I mean, we had a reunion dinner already. And actually, he invited me to go over today, but I don't think I will be. I told him I wanted to rest. And but so we will definitely be meeting on the first day and probably the 3rd day. Yeah. And it's going to be so much more relaxing because only 2 houses, which leaves a lot of free time because my uncles, like at least 3 of them, right? They've told me, Junia, let's do a Zoom. So instead of driving to different places and all, we're just going to do a Zoom, and not even 3 different Zooms, just one Zoom.
Wow.
3 different parties attend. So it's definitely
going to
be, it's definitely going to be a very relaxing time.
Are you looking forward to it being relaxing, or do you like the hustle and bustle every year and all the movement and action?
Actually, to be frank, right, I think I really like the movement and action because, like, to each relative's house, the kids already know, we'll be at the playground, and this particular house, we like the aqua, this one always laugh a lot. But so it will be different. But I think rest is also good because there are a lot of things I want to do. So one of the things that I want to get my kids started on again is decluttering more. But I will cover that on Tuesday for them to declutter their own stuff. Just not just their physical space, but their mind space as well. So on Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. we'll cover that. So I am looking forward to the rest.
Your mindset is really adaptability and adjusting and finding joy in having to adjust and having to adapt. That's really good because I think a lot of people are very stressed about having to adapt. and having to adjust. And I've heard lots of families have arguments about who visits who and who doesn't visit who, and it's just sad because Chinese New Year is really a time to get together. And then you add all these tensions, as it is, lots of families have tensions between the husband and the wife, you know. So why am I spending more time at your house? You know, why are you not spending enough time at my parents' house? There's already a lot of pressure that's there and expectations. And I loved what you said in one of your previous chats where you said to reduce the expectations, because then you reduce the disappointments and you reduce the negativities. So I love that you're being so adaptable about the situation, and I think we all need to be. You know, on social media, there are a lot of people complaining about the regulations and finding every possible way to loophole the regulations, and I think it's not
I
so
got one,
healthy.
I mean, we did
Yeah.
talk about it. Yeah, one of them, they were saying, you know what, just bring the slippers in because if the
Right, yeah,
enforcement
I've
officers
heard
are on
that
the
one.
outside, right? I
I've
think
heard that
that's
one.
the most blatant one, right? Just bring your
I've
slippers in, no one will know.
I've heard that one. Yeah, I've heard that one too. I mean, if you've got good neighbors who are not going to pauto you, that's fine. But if they have a CCTV and stuff, then everything is out there and proof is there. And I guess it comes down to how much risk everybody wants to take. But I would recommend against it. I mean, we spend so much time trying to break the rules that are there to protect us. And essentially, these rules are there to protect us. And yeah, we shouldn't complain about it either. You and I have talked about this. And if you
Yes.
think about the millions of people around the world who have lost loved ones to this pandemic, I mean, these regulations are in place not because our government has decided to be difficult this year. We are still in the middle of a global pandemic. And if you think of the millions of people who have lost loved ones, and then here we are in Singapore, we're just complaining and grumbling about these regulations. Yeah, no, let's not do
I,
that.
I I want to share something along the same thought. So to be very frank, right, my son is 3. So once
Mm,
often, right, he goes out without the mask because he we haven't been enforcing it. And it's not like he goes out a lot. But recently, I think with the beginning of this year, I'm in alignment with what you said. I actually sat down and I thought about it, and you need to understand, coming from the rule breaker that I am, this is atypical for me. And I was like, why we wear the mask? And I explained to him, it's not
mm,
just to protect yourself because other
mm,
people may be sick, right? But it's also to
mm.
protect other people in case you are that you don't know
Right,
that you're carrying it. And
right,
from that day on, right, I really enforced it on my son. So he's not comfortable, and then I'll just tell him, if you're not wearing your mask, then you don't come up with mommy. So
right,
he since
right,
began to put it on, regardless of how he feels.
right.
And I'm quite proud that I'm quite law abiding.
Well
Okay, but
done. Well done.
yes. Okay, but I want to move on. So thank you,
Mhm,
viewers, for joining us. Do give us your thumbs up. Today's session is going to be amazing. And we have compiled some questions from real moms and
mm,
parents who are asking specific questions about how to deal with Chinese New Year during this period. Okay, so I want to
right.
read the first one. One asks, how do we get my kids involved in Chinese New Year preparations? Example, change their own bed sheets. Okay, so Michelle, I'm going to tell you, I didn't even know changing bed sheet was a tradition.
Oh yeah.
So I want to ask you, do you know the significance? So we actually change the bed sheet on the first day or the day before?
I think people usually do it like after the reunion dinner so that it's in time for the new year. But if people are rushing for time, I think they can do it like on today, to do it for tomorrow. And it's not just changing the bed sheets. Actually, the real tradition is to get a new set of bed sheets. Of course, then you think you live, I don't know, you're 52 and you have 52 sets of bed sheets. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's a bit impractical, but actually that's the tradition. It just fits into the entire everything is new tradition. So new clothes, new shoes, everything is new, just as a Chinese tradition to symbolize that the old is done and we usher in the new with good fortune and good luck. I mean, it's a tradition thing, it's a cultural thing. I'm sure there's some practicality in there, like some people never buy new clothes at all, so please go out and buy new clothes. But it's just part of tradition and culture, and it's not so much that the children need to change their own bed sheets. It's just the element of getting them involved in spring cleaning and getting the house ready, getting the home ready.
I
Yeah,
think
and
what you're
it's
saying is it's like so that the tradition is passed on. Because if
that's right.
mom is doing everything and they're just observing, what are the chances that they will pass it on to their next generations, right? So in getting them
Mm,
actively involved is where hopefully they they don't just understand, but the tradition is not lost, is it?
Well, it's also to help, overburdened moms who are just trying to get the entire home
I'm
and
very
ready and
practical, yes.
all the children ready. It's like, oh my word, children, can you please help? Mommy's going crazy here. So I think there is a bit of that as well. And I think it's good. I think it's really, really good that moms are actually engaging or trying to engage the children to help, because you and I also have spent a lot of time talking about entitled children, who
Yes,
somehow think
yes.
that a magic broom sweeps through their house and everything happens. Their clothes get washed, their clothes get ironed, and there's nobody actually doing it, and there's no effort actually being put into it. And they grow up entitled that way. They grow up into adults who marry other adults, expecting that other adult to also have the magic broom, and then it causes a lot of problems in the relationship, and moving forward, you're just not a very nice adult. So I think it's good
Yes,
that moms are getting their children involved early.
I hear you. Moms, parents who are viewers as you are watching in, if you've got any questions that you want us to answer, do type it in, or any ideas to this particular question that a mom has asked, right? About how to get kids involved in CNY preparation. My answer, Mish, is to instead of top down, like force the kids to do it or do it for the sake of doing. And thank you for the thumbs up. I would actually use the opportunity to share the meaning of each action, because I think often when we take time to explain the why, so for example, for spring cleaning, right? Nobody enjoys doing it, right? Because especially I can imagine if there's no culture or habit of doing it, the entire year don't need to do. Then Chinese New Year, wow, wear the apron, wear
That's right.
and then the mask and stuff. But instead of that, right? I think it's a few tips. We could switch on music so everybody does it together. Stipulate the time, because I think often number two, right? When we don't stipulate the time, don't know how many hours is this going on for. I mean, even I won't. But if we say, okay, we're going to do it for this 2 hours, and then this is yours, this is mine, and we are very clear on the workload, work distribution, and where with music, and I normally let the kids choose the music, it becomes a family activity. But of course, prior to this, I explained to them why we spring clean, in exactly what you say. And for those of you who caught the first session of the decluttering, it's amazing because it really brings prosperity and harmony in terms of good relationship in the family. I will be covering part 2 next Tuesday. So yeah,
I think
so
I,
go on. Go on.
I think essentially it's like what you say, and if we have, it's not a case of Chinese New Year comes around and suddenly our kids are different people. So I think if you have that buy-in, from before, then I think Chinese New Year becomes less of a hassle. But if you decide that Chinese New Year is going to be a time where you're going to have you're going to have that buy-in that they are part of the household, then yes, you need to do all those things and make it fun, like you say, put on music and things like that. But also I think it's important to tell the kids, not just at Chinese New Year, but at any time of the year, that hey, this is team Lee, or this is team Yap. We are a team. Our
This
family
is
is a
your
team.
family.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is our family. We are a team. So if something needs to get done, we're a team. If one of us is down, we're a team. So I think that essence of team as a family, because we always see ourselves as a family, and then people take family for granted a lot. But when you're part of a team, then you learn in school very early on that as part of a team, you contribute. So if you
Yes,
make
I
your
like
family like a team, then the children feel okay. And then also to tell your children, right, you live here, for
I
better
like what
or
you're
for
saying.
worse, you live here.
I like what you're saying because the team, right? You use the word team. I think it brings in that responsibility because as in a family, it's just all love and But
Mm,
bringing it the concept of a team also means
mm,
that there are responsibilities that need to be fulfilled, and it's not going to be just on one person or just the parents or on the
right,
helper, even worse, right? But
right.
everyone gets to, and I'm not saying that it has to be equal workload spread across, but just
Mm,
proportionately according to their age or
right,
their skill set and all. Okay, I want to
right.
move on to the second question.
Mm-hmm.
And for each of you who've joined us, if you enjoy, do give a thumbs up or send us some love. Every morning we're going to perk your morning up, okay? Second question. How do I get my older kids to observe tradition like buying Chinese New Year clothes? Do you struggle with
Mm.
that for you?
I think
Or
in general, children like to buy new clothes. Who doesn't like to buy new clothes? I mean, at any age, people like new clothes, right? It's a concept of, oh, I have something new to wear. So I think the concept of new isn't as problematic as the concept of red. I mean,
Ah,
if you're going to put your young children in red clothes, they're going to be like, okay, then they hit tweens and they're 10 and they're 11 and they're 12, and then you hit teenagers. And they're like, I'm not wearing red. I'm not going to look like an ang pao, like a walking ang pao. And then you get a lot of resistance about that. So, not so much, I think, about the new clothes. So, then I think what you tell your children, or I've told children who have told me this before, they come to me and they're like, Mommy wants me to wear red. And I'm like, yeah, but why don't you try asking Mommy if you can wear orange? You know? So it's a compromise. I mean, for teenagers, they're always about control. Half the time I think teenagers are thinking in their head when the mom is talking or when the parents are talking to them is, you're not the boss of me.
yeah.
And I think that stems from them just wanting a bit of control in their lives. So then you ask them, okay, you don't want red, it's orange fine, it's yellow fine, and then you meet a compromise there. Also, I think I've told children before that, hey, it's Chinese New Year, you're Chinese, you weren't picked up from a drain. You weren't an abandoned child. You have a family, you have a culture, and you should embrace that because there are
But why
people around
red?
the world. It's the color prosperity in Chinese generally. I mean, like people get married and it's all about red because it is culturally the color of prosperity. It is culturally the color of happiness. And if all that doesn't work with your child, you tell your child, don't you want a life of happiness? Don't you want me to bless you with a life of happiness? So Chinese New Year is the one time that we do this because you have a culture. You belong to a culture. You belong to something that's bigger than you.
And
So
I want to
yeah.
share, right? For you moms who, I used to be one of those who was dressed in red. It's even worse. Okay, it's not just red, it's Chinese New Year clothes. So I
Mm,
had this conversation with my daughter last night. I was like, darling, do you have an issue with buying new clothes? She's like, Mom, I think the people who have issue, it's not just the red color, but what she brought in, right, is that you have to wear the qi pao or the traditional clothes. So that's
mm,
even worse, right? You buy it
mm,
to wear it once a year and then you chuck it and never
mm,
ever wear it again,
mm, mm.
except for what National Cohesion Day or something like that, right? So she said,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
then
Racial
then
racial
it's
harmony day.
racial harmony. Then it's completely useless. So for all you moms, right, who are trying and trying, it does get in. So I was one of those who did it for the sake of. But even when I became an adult, I actually made it because I'm the eldest in my family. The entire family, hey, shall we all wear it like today? And my mom was so happy, right? Because for many years in her life, she would keep saying, wear it. And then nobody will listen to her. My dad would be very flexible, let the kids wear whatever color they want, lah, you know. But so my dad has passed away for like 11 years already. But when the sister tells her peers, my siblings, let's wear it,
Mm,
it comes
mm,
from a very different angle. And for us, it's
mm,
really just, and then my brother, the Dubai one, struggles with it the most because he doesn't have any red clothes. His is all black, dark blue,
mm,
but then it's just the fun of it, lah. So I think with regards to this, right, um, parents, let's just be a bit more flexible. Like, I don't know whether we would allow like a red brooch or red scarf or red hairband, where, yes, not the entirety is in red, but I've since learned to go with the flow so that everyone is off to a good start and they don't dread the entire Chinese New Year. If anything, I want them to, in embracing our tradition, to enjoy and not have things met down, on
mm,
them.
mm.
I think that
Top
is what
heavy.
that is
Yeah.
what could make a difference. Yeah,
I think one thing that we adults do is we tend to be a bit top heavy when these things happen. And
yeah,
then maybe it's a good thing for us to ask ourselves why we're being top heavy about this. Some of us may be facing criticisms from our relatives and in-laws, like can't you even get your child dressed properly? So I think if we know where what is driving us in life, it's always good to know what is driving us, especially as parents, because you know what, our children become victims of whatever's driving us. And the worst thing is when our children become roadkill because of what's driving us. So we get to the root of what's driving us. Why is it so important for my child to wear red? Because I'm always criticized by relatives that I can't get my kid dressed properly. Then at some stage when your child is old enough, tell your child that. Say, hey, mommy's really under a lot of stress from relatives to get you dressed right. Do you think you can help mommy with this? Just for one day, just help mommy with this because mommy really feels the pressure. So, whatever is driving us, if we are able to share it with the children, not so much to burden them with it, but to explain what's driving us. I mean, you put a child and you turn on the GPS and the child has no idea what's going on and where they're going. Sometimes it's good to tell them, about the journey and good to tell them about where they're going. It also helps them, it also gives them purpose in what they do. So then they put on the red dress and they go, okay, I'm helping mommy. I don't want mommy to be criticized by mama and by aunties. And okay, so I'm going to do this. And sometimes we need to
Yes.
understand that the children love us so much that
Yes.
if we ask them for their help, they're going to help. So
Yes.
what's driving us? What's driving us to get them in that red dress? Is it also because we want them to have every bit of happiness in their lives? Then sit down and tell them that. Sit down and say, I'm not doing this to make you unhappy. I'm doing this because it's our culture, it's our tradition, and mommy just wants the very, very best for you. And then sometimes that's how you
And
get through to children. You talk to them, don't not top heavy. You talk to them,
yes.
yeah.
And at the same time, the kids may never understand because I mean, to be very frank, I was one of those where my mom is like, why can't you wear it? I'm like, why can't you accept that Chinese New Year is supposed to be psychedelic and multicolor? And so then I'll go into like that. But I love what you brought up, right? About this a key word called respect. What is the definition of respect? Because and I want to bring in this other question. Welcome for those of you who just joined us. Welcome to the first episode of Mom's Morning Talk. And today we're discussing Chinese New Year celebration in the middle of the global pandemic. So I want to bring this one question from a mom, right? She says, how to deal with enthusiastic elders who pinch the kids' cheek. So earlier, right, Mish, you were saying, yes, it's for them. So mom is under criticism when the elders say, hey, why you never wear it? Why you never? But my question is, when do we make a stand to say, hey, enough is enough. You don't get to pinch my kid's cheek as and when you like, even though I know your intention is good. But the kids are obviously not very happy. Yeah. So I want to hear your
No,
thoughts because I'm very
no.
clear on my thought. Come.
Well, the thing is, I think as much as we tell the children to be on our team, to be on team family, I think we also need to show them that we are team family where they are concerned. So if we know that they're being pinched, and not only do they not like it, it hurts, you know. So then we need to demonstrate that we're on their team. And then we need to tell the auntie and all that, say, hey, I know she's very cute, but very painful. No, please, auntie, can you stop? And I know certain aunties who are really prone to do that Chinese New Year or not. You know what I do? I tell my daughter, you stand next to mommy and you greet this auntie. Okay. And the minute I see the auntie headed towards her, I just yank her away and bring her to another part of the room. So I physically save her. So there's physically saving them, and then there's also telling the auntie, please, it's very painful, don't do it. And then there's a very little known tradition that if you keep pinching a child's cheek, they lose their appetite.
Is it?
So, yes, that's
Really?
right.
Why? How
Really,
come they will
really.
lose their appetite?
I don't know, maybe because the cheek hurts and they don't want to eat.
Okay. I thought it was scientific. Okay.
But
I get okay.
but it is an actual tradition. It's maybe it's Peranakan tradition, but my life is full of traditions, being a deeply rooted Peranakan. But yeah, if the auntie is very heavy on traditions, then you tell the auntie there's a tradition that says this. But if not, then just flatly say, no, please stop doing it. It's very painful. And by now you know which aunties are going to do it. So then you can physically rescue your child, show
and
your
and
child
and
that you're on their team.
yes, and one trick, right, that I have, right, is really the child, right? You like what you said. You already know the auntie or the uncle who
Mm,
normally tends to do it.
mm.
Before they come, you just reach out your hand. You just Happy New Year, or you bring the two oranges. Oh, see, so with that in front, right? You
Yeah, they
put it
can't.
into their hands. Yeah, it's sort of like, yeah, wow, the enthusiasm from the kids. That's one. And the other thing that I want to say is I'm in total agreement with you. So parents, while tradition, where do we draw the balance between tradition and respect? Is tradition something that is given, where I must respect all my elders regardless of what they do or what they say? Or is it earned, where, hey, no, because we don't allow people to just pinch the kids' cheeks. So for me, I believe that for me, my stand is it's both, but it's earned, and the kid needs to experience what it is like to feel respected. So so I don't just tell them where we are going on the journey and whom we are meeting and the lineage, because in this kind of huge Chinese family, mine with 9 families to go on the first day, we even lose track. Like how are they related, instead of just going there to get ang pao, right? And us giving. So that's one. But I think the other thing about respect, right, is really, once I actually, Michelle, told one of the aunties, auntie, I just asked her, like, I called her by name. How would you like it if somebody pinch your cheek? She stared at me, and then she's like, because she just pinched my daughter. Then I'm like, not nice, right? And then she kept quiet, but she knows, something was coming. But my tone was very nice, okay? And there is a track record of honoring her. So if there is no track record of having a good relationship with her, I don't think it would have gone down so well. Okay, so it's how we live our life. And then she looked at me, but it's okay, ma. I looked at her, and Misha, I tell you, my heart, because in my head, not okay, ma. The kid is obviously frowning. Which part of not happy can't you see, And I'm like, but auntie, she's really not happy. And then you can see that the cheeks are red already. And the auntie, right? And then my heart, because we are taught tradition, better not talk upwards, right? Don't talk back, especially my mom, So, it was beautiful because she looked at me, and I think in that moment she made a choice. And I think that's out of good relationship that we have. She was like, Junia, I meant her no harm. And I said, I know, I get that. And then she said, but if you don't like it, I'm going to stop doing that. So I was touched there, because she is going to stop pinching my daughter's cheeks because she loves and respect me. And I thought, okay, my son just woke up, right? And I thought, so I thought that was such a perfect demonstration of respect. And this is now an auntie that I will respect, because she respects like what I say, and I would submit to her as well. So respect, I believe, is two ways. In us,
you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. And this element of respect, I think it's great if the children realize that they are being respected. So, one step further is to tell the auntie, so and so, this little girl doesn't like it, and she doesn't like it. We don't need to do it, and it's hurting her. So, bless.
my helper took him away. Yeah.
So if we make it about her, and say it hurts her, she doesn't like it, let's not do it. And then if the auntie desists, then the little girl thinks, hey, somebody respects my wishes. And that's very powerful. It's very powerful raising children who are heard. I'm all about
Yes.
I'm all about hearing the voice of the child. Especially in the Chinese New Year gathering, which also is something that we wanted to talk about bored children during visits, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's really about drawing them into the conversation. Sometimes we gather as adults and then we're so busy having this adult conversation, and the child is sitting there bored out of her mind. But you know what? That's a human being there who's part of the conversation. If she were 20 years older, we would not be doing that to her. So I think as adults, we need to remember that this young person is still a person. So every now and then you draw them into conversation. Now, it's easier said than done. Some children prefer to be invisible. That's fine. But you can also talk about the person, like, oh, let's say your daughter's name is Lisa. Then you say, oh, Lisa did, something really good the other day, and then it's not talking behind her back, obviously, it's talking in front of her, and she feels a part of what's going on, and then the boredom levels go down, because and then if she's fine to join a conversation, like some children are really chatty, like, Lisa, tell auntie the other day what happened, when we went to the park and there was that weird bird, and then make sure that she finishes the story,
I
because
love what I love what you share, because I think when kids feel they are less of a wallpaper and more involved in the interactions, then there is actually a real reason to look forward, right? Where it's not just about going there, watching TV, eating the bakwa or whatever and drinking. But it's actually like somebody is interested to know about my life, and two-way, that we can get to know them, right? I can get to know this auntie,
Yes,
this uncle, or even my cousins. So, it could be peer, because I remember for me when I was growing up, I used to love Chinese New Year, right? Because, and even regularly, because I got to hang out with my cousins. So while the adults were, don't know, talking about what stuff upstairs, we would be downstairs on the bicycle learning stunts, and that actually deepens the cousin bond. So I love what you share about including our children while getting a sense of their temperament, because some would really prefer watching the TV. Some would need a little, like what you say, prodding before they actually connect with their relatives. But ultimately, I love what you share, because I at the end, Chinese New Year, and I'm going to be very frank, okay, most of my relatives, right, I don't visit them for an entire year. But Chinese New Year is the one point where we connect again. So the beautiful thing about tradition is, because I keep going and doing, at least I thank God for that once a year where I get to connect with them to find out how their entire year has been. And I so look forward to that. And I pray that my kids will also begin to connect
continue
with
the tradition, right? Yeah, and if there are kids in the house, that's great. Let them go off and go do their own thing, in someone's room, and that's wonderful. But sometimes you visit a house and there's no kids. Then you need to draw them into the conversation. You know what? Actually, it's really good practice for them to learn social behavior as well. How you talk, I talk, you talk, I talk, you talk, you talk, I talk, I talk. It's that kind of interaction that I see a lot of teenagers lacking in. They're so socially awkward. And I think Chinese New Year is a great time to introduce the concept of being social to our children, to really broaden the conversation, but make sure they are heard.
Yes, especially in this digital age, right? Where we go and then I remember one reunion dinner. I mean, to be very frank, right? One reunion dinner, I came in and I saw this whole round table. It was at a restaurant, and my mom's side is huge, right? So I've got like 30, 40, 50 over cousins. One whole table, they were all seated around, but there was no conversation with each other. Everyone was looking at the screen in front of them. And I remember registering. So I went and I started to connect, right? And I remember registering, right? That I pray that, in this digital age, that we will never lose the face-to-face interaction, because that's that really bonds us. Wait, and with that, I want to invite, hi Faith, thank you for joining us. Faith says, wear light, bright colors. So yes, Faith, as long as light and bright colors, it signifies spring, right? And newness and coming in.
But not white, huh?
Not white, so white cannot.
No,
white?
Not white.
One of my cheongsam is white color and pink color. And my mom didn't say anything. My traditional moms didn't say anything.
It's not,
because white is more for mourning, is it?
Correct. Yeah, you don't wear white, you don't wear black, you don't wear gray. As far as I understand, even brown and purple is acceptable, because purple is a derivation of
red.
Pink.
Red.
And brown is a derivative of yellow. So those are allowed. But I mean, really, traditionally, it's the reds, the pinks, the oranges, the yellows. Those are the acceptable colors on the first day.
Got it. But I want to interject. For me, right, I even go a step, like on the first day, what I do. I don't know this year if the girls will do it, but I buy matching outfits for all of them, right? On the first day, everybody wears the same, So what all the girls wear the same. Then the second day, all blue. Then on the third day, all like same color. So this year, I don't know. Yeah. So we've got red, we've got pink, we've got purple, we've got blue. Or cheongsam lah. I just wanted the same. So, but then when the boy came, so different. So this year, I don't know yet. I haven't planned, even though it's just tomorrow. But yeah, okay, that was a slide.
It's tomorrow.
Yes, so quickly, right? Okay, another very interesting question I have, Mish. What to do with materialistic kids who compare ang pao and make money face comments? So parents, as you are listening in, if this is a question you can identify with and you have come up with a solution, please type in your suggestions or ideas as Mish and I just banter. Mish, how money face? Do you face that?
No. I
Sorry,
don't.
no. No, okay.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't. But I have seen it. I have seen it happening before me as well. And I think, I mean, yeah, like we were saying earlier, our kids don't
No, wait.
become
I want to ask, right?
somebody. Mm,
When you see it happening before you, meaning you are there, and then one child opens up and
mm,
says something. Is
mm,
it? What does the child
mm.
say?
Mommy, how come this year it's only $10? Last year it was $20.
Really? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
Okay.
thankfully, it wasn't about my ang pao, but and then the adults tried to pretend they didn't hear, and
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
but we all heard.
I'm
So
sure, and I'm not
yeah,
surprised, right? Because the adult
yeah,
is trying to pretend, the kid will keep asking, right? Because
yeah.
no
No, so
answer, ma.
no, I think the mom gave her a look that was, "I'm going to slap you if you don't shut up."
Okay.
So I think the
Okay.
child did not ask the second time, but we all heard the first question the first time. Um,
Okay.
okay, I think as we were saying earlier, that children don't become a different person at Chinese New Year. They're still children. They're still the same person. So if the child does something like that at Chinese New Year, I think it's a good wake up call for the parents that somewhere along the line, this is not a value or not something that you have dealt with your child. Please don't try to deal with it at the Chinese New Year gathering. Wrong time, wrong place. I think outside that scene, then I mean, yes, okay, tell your child, please stop asking, please stop saying that. But outside, I think then it's a wake up call to address the issue of materialism with your child. And I think especially in this pandemic times, it's good to talk to your child about how there are so many people who are losing their jobs and who have half their salaries, and yeah, okay, it's not just about the pandemic year, but to inculcate a sense of compassion within the child that you are getting an ang pao as a blessing. The amount of money inside is just a bonus. It's that red paper that is of value. As a Chinese, that red covering, that red envelope is your blessing, is what you want. That's the goal. Don't move your eye from the goalpost. As with everything we teach our children, don't move your eye from the goalpost.
I
If you want to achieve something, that's your goalpost. Don't move your eye, don't get distracted.
got it.
So don't get distracted from the fact that the ang pao, that red paper, is your goal, because that's the blessings that people confer on you. Money inside, it's just an additional thing. That's not your goal. That's not your aim. That's not the focus.
And I think
Mm,
there are so many things that we can talk when we talk about blessings. So,
mm,
for example, words, right? Like 恭喜发
mm,
财, 年年有余, 心想事成. So, for all you out there, right? Chinese is not the first language at home, and it's not something that we're very good at. But even then, we teach the kids like these 4 words, greetings, to be a blessing. So, like what you're saying, the red paper, red symbolizes, the symbolism of it is blessings that are conferred on the younger generation, and the cash is a blessing. So, I think the other way is words, because words literally blesses someone um, uh, it- when it's done in good heart, right? And I want to bring us back to like what you're sharing, right, Mish? I so can identify with this question because my kids, when they were younger, used to ask, they will open, hey, how come grandma only give fair amount, And it doesn't matter whether grandma is in the car or not. It's still, in the moment, right? Because nobody ever prepared me for that. I'm like, wow, where am I going to say and do? And so you are right? So it's not a conversation that can be dealt with in the moment. I mean, yes, it can start in a moment, but don't expect to reach what you want to, apart from coercion, right? Because very often it's our face that we lose, and then we take it out on the children. So parents,
right.
the reality is kids are just being who they are. And Mish, I want to share with you, for me, it was a process, because it's not just Chinese New Year, but even presents,
Mm,
Christmas
right.
presents, or even their
Right.
birthday presents. What if
Right.
I receive a gift that I don't like? Do we tell
Right.
our kids just keep up with appearances and just say thank you and just act happy? Do we tell them to lie? Because that was a process I went through, because I don't want my
Mm,
kids to be liars. I want them to be straight, authentic, genuine. And for a period, I sort of like struggled with that because I was like, but they really don't like, because this item is really not something that, so I taught them, so I went through, say something neutral, like, oh, that's interesting. So
Right.
don't lie, but don't
Right.
push down the gift, right? Either.
Right.
But I've
Right.
since, I think, moved on to where I come from is the heart of gratitude, where I tell them at the end of it, even if you don't like it, this person made the effort to choose a gift for you. And yes, the person may not know your favorite color, your preferences, even your life stage as of this point. But this person thought enough for you to wrap this for you.
Right.
So can
Right.
you be grateful for the intention? So
Right.
stop your eyes being on the gift, right? The actual gift or the
Right.
actual cash, but on
Right.
the intention. And
Right.
because as we expand our heart, right, and it's no
Right.
longer about the material stuff, I think the kids' hearts, and
Right.
as they grow, right, they become a lot more appreciative of life itself. So
Right.
so for me, right, that's not just a one-off conversation to have during Chinese New
No.
Year or Christmas or their
No.
birthday, but it's a lifestyle that we can keep reinforcing. And even if 1 year is not enough to undo, because I want to admit, I want to be the first mom to say, I'm not surprised, right, that where they learned it is from me, right? Because they helped me to pack the ampao, and then they're like, how come you give this and this? So, and it's time that us, me as a parent, right, instead of shushing them up, it's
Right.
really to look at me and say, hey, how have I modeled that for them, that they would, that becomes a priority. And if not, it's okay. We just adjust, and we will never be perfect, right? So
Right.
as we begin to shift our priority and model it throughout, I'm sure that next Chinese New Year or 3 Chinese New Years down, that becomes
It
a
gets
not
better.
anymore. Yes.
It gets
Yes.
better. Yeah. Yeah. So this is not a Chinese New Year issue necessarily. It's an all year round, every day, what are the values you want your child to have? And if they understand the
Yes.
values, then yeah. My daughter doesn't even look at what's in the ang pao. She just takes it, says thank you, and she passes it to me. I mean, she doesn't even bother with what's inside. So I don't have that issue, thank God. But who's to say she's still young?
Got it. Okay, and I want to ask you, right, this okay, so how do we, okay, so Chinese New Year, right, bored kids who have nothing to do this CNY because it's the long weekend.
Right.
So this is the question, what do we do for those who are not celebrating CNY?
Well,
Any
I
thoughts?
think it's the same thing we do with the people who are celebrating CNY this year, because it's just 2 visits, right? And how long can you stay at someone's house? Okay, well, I guess if you're playing mahjong, you can stay really, really long, but otherwise, and it's no different from any other holiday then. And if your child is really resistant about even making those 2 visits, then I think it's striking a deal with your child and saying, okay, after we do this, then we'll go do this that I know you like to do. So then it's really an issue of doing, and I think it's about us parents as well committing to doing with our children. I mean, I think parents would be amazed if they really knew how much even their sullen child, would actually enjoy doing things with them. And I think that it's very sad when we suppress this, and our child doesn't tell us in words, doesn't give us a manual, doesn't send us a letter, but they really want to do things with us, do their favorite things with us, like watch a movie, just stay at home, watch a movie, or even if they're doing their homework, go in and check in on them, or give them like biscuits, just to show that you are there. And then we don't. And then we tell them, go and do your own thing. Okay, we'll go and visit mama, and then you go and do your own thing. You have 2 hours, go and do whatever you want. Yeah, but how about doing something with them? Because we're not working this long weekend as well. So we're all at home. Technically, this long weekend, for most people, we're all stay-at-home parents. So how about doing something with the children? Because the longer we go suppressing their desire to spend time with us by ignoring them and by insisting that we want to do our own things, then basically that's the future we are shaping. And one day we're going to wake up and realize that our children don't need us anymore because we trained them not to need us. And that is the
True.
saddest thing a parent can understand one day, that we trained our children to not need us. We trained our children to not want us around. We did this. So I think this long weekend is a good time for us parents to show interest, show genuine interest, show involvement, not necessarily in an intrusive way, but do something with our kids that they like to do, not that we like to do. I had a parent once telling his I think 7-year-old child, let's go for coffee. And I just shook my head and thought, that's what you want to do. I don't think your child wants to go for coffee. How about going for ice cream instead? Or how about, going rollerblading or something that they want to do? We have these children. We brought them into this world. They are our responsibility. And then our needs get put aside a little bit because their needs come first. So if we can show them
You
that, I think the whole weekend will be a much happier, battle-free weekend with the children.
you bring the mind you bring to mind the lyrics of this song "Cats in the Cradle," where it's a very powerful song. For those of
Right.
you who don't know, it talks about this son who always wants
Mhm.
the dad to be there, but the dad is
Right.
always busy working. The
Correct.
father didn't witness his son's growing up years,
That's
and
right.
before he knew it, right, one day the father was free, and the father looked and said, "Hey, are you free to go out with
Mm,
me?" And then the son
mm,
said, "No, I just came to
I'm
give
busy.
to collect the car
Mm,
keys. Can I have
yeah.
them? See you later. Can I have them, please?" So it's a very
Mm,
powerful song,
it
which
is.
reminds me that, at the end of it, yes, I mean, Mish, I tell you, Chinese New Year, while it is typically hectic period for me, because you can imagine 9 houses and all. But I
Right.
think the joy and just the unity and coordinating and loving and spending time with the kids, is something that, um, you're right lah. I mean, how many years do we have with them, right? Before they
Right.
become teenagers, and then friends and work takes priority above family. So, in as
Right.
deep as we can build the roots, I think it's so critical to spend that time with them. It's not so
Right.
much the money, but it's that undivided attention with each of them that I hear you say. And then the other question, parents are asking. So Chinese New Year, right? Long weekend. How do we balance between work and play? Any magic formula?
I think it depends on how old your child is. I think if your child's in preschool, I think you can forget about the let's practice writing and let's practice, adding and subtracting. But if your child is older, and especially having an important exam year this year, then yes, there needs to be a bit of a balance, and it's really a case of the needs of your child. If your child has a lot of homework being stacked up, then please don't drag your child out and tire your child. And then on Monday she goes to school and like, my work is all not done. I mean, you've got to talk to your child and ask how much homework do you have, and hey, this is a long weekend, mommy's home, daddy's home, do you have any questions about work, or can you, we need to put in some extra time because in how many weeks the exams are coming. I realize it's very powerful, right? So if you say, hey, there's 28 weeks left to the PSLE, the child is suddenly like, what? There are 28 weeks left, and then they get a sense of urgency as well. But don't just make it all about studies. Obviously, this is a celebration, this is a celebratory weekend. So make sure that the kids have time to laugh and to have a great time, because that is what the blessings of Chinese New Year is: family unity, family bonding, and joy. I mean, the whole concept of this lo hei shouting and what is about the joy that it evokes. So this is really a celebration about joy. So have a great balance. Make sure the kids do some work, make sure the kids have some fun, and then I hope it's a battle-free long weekend for everybody because it can be a really miserable time if there is warring going on at the adult level, at the children level, between the adults and the children. That's not a great way to spend a long weekend on any
I,
long weekend.
I love what you say about Chinese New Year being a celebration of joy. What we usher in. Like, let the
Mm,
long weekend, right, be symbolism of how you intend this entire year to look like for
right,
you. So even if,
right.
like for me, practical application, I feel like scolding the husband because a bit late. Never mind, then just
Yes,
10 minutes late. Let's
yes,
just
yes.
enjoy, because one harsh word is all it takes to spoil the entire
Yeah,
mood for
that's right.
everyone.
That's
Yeah,
right.
so
The
let's just
tension is
choose.
in the air, yeah.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's really good. I
And
think we all make compromises this long weekend and, to
for
usher in
me,
joy.
Yes, for if work and play, right? I would always say this: always do work first. So in the morning, like even when the kids wake up, or even school holidays, right? This eat your frog first. Do what is hardest in the morning, because in the morning when we wake up, we have the highest energy. Our willpower is at the highest. By the time it's like the battery, right? Poo 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 poo, it goes down. By the time evening comes, right? The willpower, trust me, it's
Mhm.
normally at its lowest, and that's why we tend to lose our temper towards the end of the day. Normally, when you
Yeah.
wake up bright and cheery, still very energetic, can self-control, can put it all together. End of the day, exhausted already. So I would do the hardest thing first, which is work, just 2 hours, and then let's go and play. So that becomes their reward instead of the other way around, right? Letting them
I'm
play. And
I'm not too
yeah,
sure that applies to everyone though. I mean, I think a lot of people wake up really grouchy and it takes them some
really,
time for the engine. Yeah, it takes them some time for the engine to get running. I mean, if I can tell you the number of moms who tell me how what a struggle it is to get their kids out of bed in the morning to go to school, and the hilarity of the stories I get. I got one mom who actually emptied an entire bucket of water on her child just to wake her up. I've got moms throwing the dogs at the child so that the dog will lick her face so that she wakes up.
you know,
I've
you
got
know,
stories of
that
yelling and screaming, the whole
that's
house down.
so that so reminds me, right? Like of my family, like 2 years ago. It's a battlefield in the morning. So I've since found a way to like wake them up. Now, to be very frank, my kids, and this is all their own idea, okay? They actually wear the school uniform to bed. I
What?
like and no, right, so okay, so let me just share, right? 2 years ago, right, it was horrible. Every morning there'll be fighting, there'll be shouting, there'll be screaming. Not enough sleep, don't want to wake up, cannot find the what, don't know
Mm,
what lah, bus pass or
mm,
whatever. And then the mama
mm.
will be quietly hiding in the room, pretending to nurse my son, right? And then if he wakes up, I get enraged, right? So I'll come and shut up. Then everybody's scared, no, out of fear, quiet lah. But it's because I'm the biggest tigress, right? But one day I realized that's madness. It doesn't work. So I begin, and in just like 5 days, I completely transformed my mornings at home where there was peace. It wasn't
Mhm.
just peace, and since then, that was 2 years ago. It graduated to now. The kids wake up earlier than the father. They wake up by themselves. They're all dressed. They can tie plaid, and like one of them was actually doing her work in the morning. I'm like, why are you doing your work? She said, then later I don't have to do because I get them to do some stuff, right? And I'm like, wow. So it's amazing, right? How I tell you, it's a heaven and hell difference.
Sorry, so what
So
was the transformation factor? How did
it's
you
a few
change?
things. Okay, it's a few things that I put in place. It's in a video on my Modern Asian Mother.
Okay.
But the few things that I included was really a morning routine. Without a routine, because a routine is something automatic that plays out. Without having a routine, the old automatic, which is stress every morning, will play out. And until and unless we interrupt that with a different routine, guess what will happen? And I put in my video, that's one of the worst ways to wake up, because I wake up, I'm already in a bad mood. Even if control,
Right.
so
Right.
now it's
Right.
completely transformed. And I thank God,
Right.
for the routine. So in
You
the
know,
yeah,
I also think it's important to win hearts and minds. I'm always talking to you about winning hearts and minds of children, right? So
yes,
I'll share what my daughter is very much like your children. So in the morning she wakes up now and she sets her own alarm on her iPad. She wakes up according to that. She goes out, she gets ready, she gets dressed. I sometimes I sleep right through her waking up and she's with me and she goes out and then I come out and I find her eating her breakfast and she's doing her assessment books and she's doing whatever schoolwork she's doing or she's reading the news for the day. She's on Straits Times on her iPad and she'll tell me, oh, you know what happened in the world. I'm like, okay. And then, it's time to go. And sometimes if I'm really tired, if I've slept really late, she'll come in and she'll go, Mommy, good morning, rise and shine. It's time to go. So then I'll get dressed and I'll drive her to school. And this didn't come about by magic. There wasn't a magic broom through my house. In primary school, I was working at that time and I would drop her off and then go off to work. And in at primary one, the first week of primary one, it was like, wake up, wake up, wake up, like a lot of moms tell me, right? So finally I told her one day, I sat her down and I said, babe, you know what? This is not the way either one of us wants to start the day. With me yelling and screaming at you, with you dragging your feet, babe, really tell me, is this the way you want to start the day with mommy yelling at you and mommy getting so upset? Because I can tell you, mommy doesn't want to go to the office like this. And at the end of the day, yell or not yelling, You still have to go to school. I still have to go to work. So can we please just change the way we do this? Can we do what we need to do without the drama? Because it's not great. Mommy loves you. I don't want to send you off to school like this. And then you send mommy off to work like this, And our days just from get-go, we're both so angry and so upset and so, So, and then I had a chat with her once, twice, and then never again. And she always woke herself up from primary one. She would get herself ready. I don't know one squeak. She eats her breakfast and she eats a big breakfast. And I don't have to feed her nothing. It's one big glass of milk. It's rolled oats with walnuts and cranberries, mulberries, apricots, and she eats a wholesome breakfast, and she does it. She just does it. No more yelling, no more screaming.
I think that's beautiful. And two things I want to point, right? Like, number one, you did it at primary one. So it wasn't like, for me, right, it's different because they've had like 1 year or 2 years of throwing this tantrum. So then it's intervention. So it's different. So it's beautiful, yes, that you started a good habit from the onslaught. And number two, babe, you could only have done that because her love account with you was topped up. Right? So if there was strained relationship and she couldn't be bothered with what you are happy with, there was already power struggle, what you said would not have had the impact that it did. So, but that is testimony to what you have been building through the years already. So kudos to you.
Thanks, babe.
Okay.
Thanks, babe. But it's also her. Okay, so, I thought you don't want to go to school hearing mommy's voice yelling at you in your ear, right?
Yeah, but I do not explain. It's different for kids who are emotionally not topped up. Yelling is still some form of attention, full stop. And I know that a lot of parents don't really understand that, but the attention rule is really good attention or bad attention. I get your attention. So they will just throw a tantrum because I get your attention. And I have trained them to get our attention the bad way, even though that's not what we want, because we keep focusing on that. So it's literally retraining, which is what I covered in the video, like how I transform it in just 5 days. Okay, we are close to 9. So thank you. If you enjoyed the session with Michelle and myself, can you give us thumbs up, some hugs? If you've got any questions, do ask us. If not, Michelle, what is one parting advice you want to leave our viewers with?
This Chinese New Year, set the example. We're the adults. Set the example and put down the phone. If you put down your phone more often, your children are likely to put down their phone as well. And tell your child, why are you trying to communicate with someone who's 1,000 miles away when there's someone right in front of you right now? And let them think about that one and put down your phone this Chinese New Year and concentrate on the children and enjoy your children. They are only this age ever once. So enjoy your children. Let your children enjoy you. Your wonderful mummies and daddies. Let your children discover that. And happy Chinese New Year, everyone.
I so love what you share. The connection at the end, like Chinese New Year, let it symbolize not just joy, but togetherness. And togetherness is really, I could physically be with you and mentally and emotionally completely not there. So, that togetherness, to just be there for them. Yeah, each of them. Oh, and in closing, I've got one more question. Kids on sugar high, how
okay.
All know.
Very simple. Very simple. You treat sugar high like alcohol high.
Okay. Yes. Get it out of the system.
Hard to see the connection, but it's the same way you avoid being drunk in a social setting. Lots and lots of water. Lots and lots of water. And if your kids are eating very heavy butter food, like cookies and stuff, make sure that wherever you go or bring with you a flask, get them warm water because it breaks down the butter and the fats and things like that for them, so they don't feel uncomfortable at the end of the day. But lots and lots of water, because the water dilutes the alcohol in the blood and the water dilutes the sugar in the blood. So lots and lots of water.
I love what you're sharing, because I think when they are busy topping themselves up with water, it also removes the soft drinks, right? Which is more sugar water actually. And then the potential sugar high. So very good. If you enjoyed, tune in to next Thursday where we will have another episode of Mom's Morning Show. Until then, you have a